Today we're going to see about taking a big nail, turning it into a hook, nail hook. So stick around. So due to the fact that there was a lot of wind and everything else out today, I was unable to use the audio for any of my video. So this is my first attempt at doing a voiceover, so please bear with me. What I'm doing here is I'm actually making the nail header end. You want to make sure to taper the ends real well, and it may take you some time to do it, but that's fine. The better you do at each step, the more it helps. Just showing what I've gotten to. As you progress, you want to constantly scrape it or use your wire brush because you don't want any scale building up on there. When you continuously hit on top of scale, it drives it into the metal and it makes it much harder to clean and look nice. So I was having a few issues with keeping everything square. So that's what I'm doing here is fixing the issues. So another thing I want to mention while I have the time is that that's just a little 3-pound sledge I picked up at Home Depot. When you pick up a hammer from Home Depot or anywhere, you want to polish the faces, or at least get a buffing wheel or a flap wheel on an angle grinder and take off any of the edges. And I like to go over it with sandpaper too, real fine sandpaper. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to finish up working on that tip once I get it all wire brushed off, and then I'm going to move on to squaring the body of the nail, because the nail is actually, of course, round, and I want to have a square profile so that way I can do a twist in it, which we'll get to here in a little bit. I left this part of the video in to kind of show something. Since I made the cutoff tool, I've had to resharpen it several times. A sharp tool is a good tool for a cutoff tool. The big problem is that if it starts getting dull, it can actually cause a lot of problems and not work anywhere near as well as what it needs to. So just you can file it, you can hit it with a belt grinder or whatever that works, and just make sure that it stays sharp. So now we're ready to cut it. Now I had let it get a little bit too hot, and that can be a problem. But just always take care and precaution whenever you're working with something hot, because you can drop it and you can burn yourself, and you don't want to do that. So it may take you a little while to get through when cutting, and that's one of the reasons why you want to have a very sharp cutoff tool. I had sharpened mine just a little bit, but it wasn't too much. It does the trick, but whatever. So now on to the next stages. Now it's time for the twist. Once you get your piece suitably cleaned off, you want to just grab it with a couple pairs of pliers and start twisting in the same direction. Now, you do want to wear gloves when doing a twist, because I find that you get a lot of scale and stuff popping off of there, and you can actually burn yourself, and it's not a lot of fun. So be aware. Now, once you've got it suitably twisted to what you want, now just make sure that you check it out and straighten it back out and make sure that everything's looking good, and then you can move on to the next steps. We're going to put in an L now. So this part's really easy. All you want to do is hammer it over the anvil, and you want to get from the top and from the side, and make sure that you got a very nice L-shaped profile on it, like this here. Now, once you get there, you can start working on the other end. We're going to want to put a scroll in before we put the bend. So right now we're just going to taper down. Uh, the big thing is you don't have to add a scroll unless you want one. I did because why not go a little fancy? That was the whole reason for squaring the piece in the first place, was to put that twist in there. It's not required, it just makes it look a little bit better. But once you get your taper done, now you can start adding a scroll, which I do with just a simple pair of needle nose pliers, which will show up here in a second. When you're ready to do your scroll, of course, make sure that you keep it clean. And you just grab it with the pliers and twist up. Now, you don't want to go too tight of a scroll with needle nose pliers because you'll actually end up getting them stuck in there. And then it can be sometimes a little bit of a pain to get out. Once you've got it to where you want, just kind of hammer it around. Use your horn or your anvil. If you have a scrolling tool, you can use that as well. I just chose to use the horn. Make sure that it's all nice and square and to the shape that you want, and you're good to go. And there's our finished product. One nail hook. Now you can hang anything you'd like off of that. You can hammer it into a tree or whatever you need and hang a lantern or whatever you can come up with. So that's your tutorial. Have fun out there.